Here are the 2024 Hyundai Sonata. This is the SEL with the convenience package in onyx black with black interior. And this is the N-line Portofino gray with black interior. I'm gonna go over some of the differences, the pros and cons, and the problem that I have with the Sonata. I'm Anthony from Hawkeye Rides, and right off the bat, you're gonna notice the refresh that's more tech, sophisticated, and sporty. On the SEL, we'll start off with the LED headlights, daytime runnings. The whole strip is going to be running across more or less the whole front of the hood, which makes it a little bit more sleek. This is one of the most aerodynamic Sonatas ever. It has more of a coupe style. The lower part of the grille is going to be more unique when you go inline because that's specific to the inline. So you'll have the mesh inserts that are changed and the turn signals will be reconfigured, both with 5.3 inches of clearance. And when you go SEL with convenience package, it swaps out the wheels from the standard 17-inch to these 18-inch two-tone wheels. The inline standard 19-inch wheels. Underneath the hood is going to house a 2.5 liter inline four-cylinder producing 191 horsepower and 181 pound-feet of torque, paired to an 8-speed automatic transmission. And the front-wheel drive will achieve 25 mpgs for the city and 36 mpgs for the highway, in which you can option an all-wheel drive for the SEL. You cannot do so on the inline. But then you're getting the more power variant. Turbocharged 2.5 liter four-cylinder producing 290 horsepower and 311 pound-feet of torque, paired to an 8-speed dual wet clutch automatic transmission, achieving 23 mpgs for the city and 32 mpgs for the highway. And when you're looking at the differences between the two, you also have suspension differences. This is going to be sport tuned, whereas the SEL will get a McPherson strut front suspension and a multi-link rear suspension. The rear of the N-line is going to be the most aggressive because you're getting the quad exhaust tips and the diffuser in between it. H-styled LED taillights is standard that spins across the whole rear. On the SEL, it's going to be a little bit more settle, whereas the lower bumper kind of comes outwards to mimic exhaust with the satin aluminum. And the problem that I have is I would like to see that the inline gets all-wheel drive, considering we have a convenience package which makes it almost as good as this, and it's going to be a smooth ride, but I want something a little bit more sporty with a four-wheel drive. Quick release going into 15.6 cubic feet of storage. You get a cargo net. Underneath the floor gets an area for a spare tire. You can split fold the rear bench in the back, and because I'm tall, I'm gonna just go inside. And that's going to increase the cargo to the Sonata. Headroom, it's going to be the same on both. The same thing with leg space. It is a driver-focused setup. The SEL gets 10-way power seat adjustment, heated front seats with the cloth seat upholstery. Standard is 6-way manual seats, but you get 10-way power seat for the driver when you go inline. And you get the unique sport bolstering, still manual seats for the passenger and heated front seats, but this is a micro suede insert. The steering wheel is going to be an inline. It's perforated on the side. You get the badging, multi-function, auto-dimming rear view mirror, and a pano moonroof with Bose 12 speakers that's found only in the inline, with ambient lighting, a curved one panel with a 12.3 infotainment screen. It has wireless Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, Sirius XM, AM, FM, streaming Bluetooth audio. Throw it into reverse, we get trajectory. It expands when you move the steering wheel. When you change the camera layouts, you can make it a wide screen. Dual climate control settings is standard, and this is a touchpad here with physical buttons on both models. 12.3 gauge cluster that can go through an array of information for the driver. 4.2 is standard, But because we have the convenience package, we get the 12.3 and a leather wrap steering wheel that's multi-function. This is a new shifter, which will be on the steering column. Wireless charging pad is part of the convenience package. USB ports, 12 volt, storage tray on the side for the passenger. And the key fob is going to be the same whether you go inline or SEL for the Sonata. Driving mode select, and it's going to be a little bit more sporty. That opens up into a deep storage pocket, and contrast stitching for the inline with the pedals that are going to be more sport derived, and the dashboard and door panel configure in together with the contrast stitching, one touch up and down for the front windows, and a long storage pocket. Headroom is going to be the same for both, and the same thing for leg space. You will not receive storage beyond the driver, but you get it on the passenger side with USB ports, cup holders with armrest, and the door is going to be a little bit different because you're going to get more sporty material in the design layout, whereas you will not get the contrast stitching. Same size storage pocket sliding into the center. The floor isn't completely flat. You'll be sharing feet, butt, shoulder, and leg space, and if someone's tall, a little bit more leg space than need be. Headroom, it's going to be a little bit more tight for somebody over 6 foot tall. In this comparison review, we're going to start off with the SEL. This has the convenience package, which doesn't add anything to performance. You just go up to the inline to do so. It's a few grand difference between the two, but it's going to be night and day difference, which you're going to see in the drive. The suspension, the transmission, turbocharged engine, it's just a lot to take in. And even the seats are going to be bolstered a little bit different than the SEL. Adding the convenience package, I would do that if I'm looking to option either the front wheel drive or all wheel drive for the SEL, because then you're tacking on a lot of amenities in the interior and on the exterior as well for just a little bit over 3 grand. So it's a pretty good deal. Feels a little bit longer, and a lot of that is derived because they've moved the shifter to the steering column. Not a huge fan of that. I've said it a few times in my reviews. It's going to take me to some pros and cons right off the bat. When you get into the SEL, you do want to tick the box for that convenience package because you're not going to get that wireless charger. You're not going to get navigation. You're not going to get a digital gauge cluster. It's going to be a 4.2 inch screen, which when I'm thinking refresh, kind of wanted to look a little bit more futuristic because the exterior, they did a great job with that. I like how they're keeping the signature H lights that spin across the whole rear. And when you go SEL, they still kind of give you that exhaust look because of the way they do the shelf on the lower bumper. I like the more aggressive style of the inline. And the big problem that I have with the Sonata is they haven't addressed the way you sit in the seat. I feel like my head is on the headliner, and in the back, it's a little bit tight. Turn radius is going to be about 2 and a part lane. Let's rock and roll. Now it's not going to throw you in the back. You're going to be sitting comfortably even if you floor it or mash on the pedal hard. And that's also derived because you only have 181 pound-feet of torque. When you're comparing that against the inline, that's 311 pound-feet of torque. So again, night and day difference with performance, and it's about $1 grand-ish more if you're adding the convenience package, which when I'm thinking about packages, you're getting all of that and performance. So it's hard to say that's not the better variant, but I can understand people going into the SEL and getting the convenience package because for a longer drive, it's going to be a little bit more comfortable. You won't feel some of the jerks of the dual wet clutch automatic transmission. I like how they cleaned up the center, but because they have made it so long, even though this is not an SUV, I kind of wish they would have made it lower to the ground. You don't need a pass-through, but maybe make it a little bit deeper, therefore giving a little bit more storage. And even in the back seat, they kind of lack in that as well. And then when you're thinking about rival perspective, Volkswagen, Toyota, Honda, nobody is going to have the same performance as the inline, but they're going to have something similar to the SEL with convenience, except you're getting an all-wheel drive as an option, in which Honda doesn't offer that for the Accord. I feel like the Accord has more leg space and you sit downwards a little bit more so, and a lot of that's derived because the door panels are also lifted. The windscreen is huge. It is pushed back, so that helps, because if it wasn't, I would have to duck down in order to see the stoplights because of my height and how tall you sit with this seat, even though I'm sitting with the lowest position possible. Another con will have to be that there's no power seat adjustment for the passenger, whether you go inline or SEL with convenience. It's going to be 6-way manual adjustments. And only ambient lighting is on the inline, so I just think that you're getting a little bit more bargain, but let's see how that inline looks. Now the inline with its performance, 290 reasons why. We need to make sure we're in sport mode. Turn radius is about the same. Let's rock and roll. Oh. It's a lot quicker. The steering is a little bit more precise. I like the overall feel to it. The seat bolstering feels a little bit more adequate for this trim. And when you're talking maybe a couple grand difference, I kind of like the power when I'm thinking about getting a sports sedan. The dual wet clutch automatic transmission changes gears seamlessly. At the beginning, it kind of has to find its little happy medium. As you saw, I had to kind of let off the gas to give it a little go. And because it's front wheel drive, it gets a little wheel happy because of the weight distribution. That's going to take me to some pros and cons here, which the big pro really is that you're getting a little bit more for not so much more as an MSRP. You get the pinstripe that goes down the center, the contrast stitching throughout the cabin, ambient lighting, Bose sound system. I can go on and on because there is a lot of pros. Plus, turbocharged and a sport-tuned suspension, larger wheels. It's a little bit more unique when you go inline opposed to the SEL convenience. The cons, it's starting to hover near a 40 grand price, in which we're not unlocking all full potential in safety, meaning we don't have where the turn signals will show in the gauge cluster. We don't receive a 360-degree reverse camera or front parking sensors. It would just be nice to have all of the features, plus ventilated front seats, power seat adjustment for the passenger. You don't get that. You don't get air vents for the rear. You're not getting rear heated seats. Now I understand when you're thinking rivals and you go into Honda, you're gonna start paying quite a bit more when you're comparing it against this to get those amenities. However, when you're only offering 2 trims, it's hard to justify why you didn't offer it in the base package. And the seat to this sits a little bit more lower. You'll still have that feel when you look at the door panels. It's just the way the seat bolsters to you. I like the charms because they sound a little bit more premium for the price that we're at, but you're not really hearing the exhaust filter in hardly at all. If you change it into normal, it's going to feel a little bit more heavy on the pedal. You really have to mash it. You're not getting any upgrades in brakes when you go into this trim, in which it does have more power, so I would like to see that unlocked. I'm not saying throw Brembo brakes, but when you got 311 pound-feet of torque, that is quite a bit. It's hard to find problems when you're talking about the inline, but let me know your thoughts in the comments. And if you're new to the channel, consider subscribing. Check out the next video, merchandise, website, and Instagram. Leave a comment and a like. And I'd like to thank Gettle Hyundai of Lakewood for giving us this comparison between the two 2024 Hyundai Sonatas, the SEL with the convenience package and the inline for our car review.